The FIIL CC Pro is not as groundbreaking as the FIIL T1 Pro. It's more like catching up with the latest features while still giving you a lot of value for your money. And that seems like the working formula for FIIL. But what about you? Is it worth the pain dealing with Chinese app and voice prompts, or even buying from AliExpress with little to no warranty for the FIIL CC Pro? Well, I have some answers, so let's talk about it. Selamat pagi! Good morning everyone, Kenneth here, and as of today, I've used the FIIL CC Pro for more than a week. So I'm finally ready to give you my final thoughts, and as usual, we're going to talk about how the sound compares to other similar earbuds, see how good the gaming mode is in the latency test, and also check out its microphone quality, this time outdoors on a real busy street. And I know you're gonna love this one. Before we start though, full disclosure is in the description, but I want you to know that I'm always giving you my own honest opinion. In the description, you can find helpful videos and affiliate links to help me support the channel. And before I ask you to subscribe, let's just get started with one of the most important aspects first, the sound quality. If you've watched my FIIL CC Pro versus One More Comfo Buds Pro video, you probably have an idea of how it sounds. Instead of pushing the sound quality boundaries, this time around the company doubled down on the bass instead. So just a quick straight to the point warning, do not get this if you are looking for clear highs or a treble focused sound. But if you love yourself some low end, the bass EQ here gives a very engaging warmth and presence that surprisingly works not only on genres like pop or EDM, but also rock or acoustics that's usually a red flag. A big part of why this is possible is because the boosted bass does not bleed and change the character of the mids and highs. Heck, even I feel like the CC Pro sounds more natural with the bass EQ. I don't mean natural by flat sounding, but it's like a restraint that has been set free. Like this is how the earbuds were meant to sound like. Anyway, comparing this to the FIIL T1 Pro and the One More Comfo Buds Pro in I Don't Wanna Miss a Thing by Aerosmith, I can definitely say that the FIIL T1 Pro sounds the best here. It presents the vocals at the front, sounding very clear and focused with a great dynamic range coming from the instruments. The CC Pro now comes second. Because the vocals are a bit further back, it's not as engaging, but it reproduces almost the same amount of details like the T1 Pro. It's actually quite a close call, but like I said before, put it to bass EQ and this will sound like a class of its own. The extra oomph you get from every bass line and drum kick is something that I enjoy a lot. Now, as for the third position, and this might be surprising considering how much I praise this earbuds, is actually the One More Comfo Buds Pro. Maybe it's been a while since I use it daily, but the flatter, more neutral sound curve here doesn't give the vocals enough focus and clarity, and the bass, despite being more detailed, isn't as engaging because it doesn't have as much impact. Moving on to a pop song now, checking out Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson, I can't really say one is better than the other here. It's now more like each one specializes on different things. The FIIL T1 Lite, for example, emphasizes the upper mids and bass, so the dynamic is there and vocals are put forward, but sometimes it might sound a bit thin. The Comfo Buds Pro, on the other hand, has a neutral tuning that gives a much more closer and intimate sounding vocals, making MJ the star of the show here, and all the other instruments just backing up nicely behind it. And finally, the CC Pro on bass EQ gives a very impactful bass kick while still keeping the vocals and instruments clear enough. I honestly love all the earbuds here for their own unique specialties and charm, so yeah, you just pick which one you like the most. Now, it won't be a proper bass earbuds review without testing an actual EDM song, so I've listened to Just Got Paid by Sagala and found that the Comfo Buds Pro stand out too much here with its lack of bass. So I changed it to the Soundpeats H1, which you know kicks really nicely, even better than a FIIL T1 Pro here on bass EQ. But guess what? The CC Pro with its bass EQ still gives you even more sub-bass reach. It's got kind of a more rolled off treble too, making it the least piercing out of the three, and so it is gonna be the best option if you wanna listen at max volume. As for the last song here, we have the newest addition to my review playlist, an R&B song by The Weeknd, I Feel It Coming. This time, I compared the CC Pro to the Soundpeats H1 and one more piston buds, one of my best for bass pick below 30 bucks. And what I found is the CC Pro has the sub in your ear feeling of the piston buds, but improved on the soundstage, which is very important in the song, although it's still not as good as the Soundpeats H1. So I hope you get a good grasp of how this sounds, and the normal and treble EQ has the same mids and highs, just dialed down the bass side a little bit more, so it sounds okay but nothing special. I know one of my viewers asked me about the advanced EQ and how to tune this to bring its full potential. I've tried, and the closest I can get is this tuning I've showed you before, but this only works well with some songs, and on some other songs it just destroys it. So in the end, I got back to the bass preset and found the earbuds to really shine there, so not very recommended if you're looking forward to tune this thing out. That's pretty much it for the sound quality. Just a quick reminder, if you found this video helpful, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you're into audio and tech. I'd love to welcome you to the community. And let's move on to the build quality and features now. At this point, you should know that you get pretty much everything you could ever ask if it's a FIIL product. I'm gonna start with the case now. This has a 420 mAh battery inside, which could charge the earbuds fully 3 times over inside. It's got wireless charging at the back, USB-C at the bottom, and the front of it, this FIIL logo, you know, lights up, which is just flexing at this point. But functionally, it only breathes in and out during charging or light up when you open the case, so you know that there's charge in it, but you don't know how much exactly unless you check the FIIL Plus app. Speaking of which, the app support is really the best thing and also the worst that could happen to these earbuds. Let me explain. Because this was intended for the Chinese market, everything will be in Chinese, and iOS devices have it even worse. They will only be able to download the app if they have a Chinese Apple ID. The global version of the FIIL Plus app does not support the CC Pro. But on the other hand, you really need to have the app because a lot of the features are turned off by default. Worry not though, there's a modded APK in XDA developers that's translated everything to English. And I've made a translation video as well, so if you have some time, you can check that out and learn everything you can do with the app. And there's also some new features like quick device switching that I've explained in the comparison video, so I recommend you check those out. I'll leave all the helpful links down in the description below. Going back to the charging case, my only complaint with it is just like what I said in the comparison video. It feels cheap. You get it? Feel as in F-I-I-L. Especially coming from the FIIL T1 Pro, which impressed me a lot. The coating, the finish, the heft here is a step backwards. Yes, you can slap a case on like this and that won't be a problem anymore, but I have one more problem, and that is the hinge. This doesn't open quite as much to the back, and it hinders you from taking the stem of the earbuds, you know? You'll get stuck. I just don't like it. As for the earbuds, you know I've voiced my opinion on this. The squared off stem is definitely a bold design choice from FIIL, but honestly, it is quite unpleasant to the touch. So wearing it doesn't feel as comfortable as any competitor of your choice. But I'm nitpicking though, because these are IPX4, the part that goes into your ear are designed to be just like the AirPods Pro, so they are pretty comfortable even when worn for hours, and the included ear tips work fine. But you just have to be aware that this has a very large inner bore, so you need to get a special set of ear tips if you want to change it. Okay, let's talk about the experience now, and we're gonna start with the controls. So just like any other FIIL, out of the box, it is very limited. You have to activate the full controls in the app. You can check this QR code for the Android app, or I'll leave the link below. And if you use an iPhone, most likely you don't have a Chinese Apple ID. So I recommend borrowing a friend's or family's phone real quick, set the earbuds up, and you can uninstall it. The changes are saved onto the earbuds. Aside from the controls you can see here, they've added 4 taps for voice assistant and 4-second long hold to switch to the last paired device. This is possibly the closest thing we can get to a true multi-device pairing, which works fine. I use it to switch between my phone and laptop a lot, and the touch sensitivity has been good, along with the proximity sensor-based wear detection that works well, pausing the music when I take one earbud off. Now, I got used to the tapping on the square edge here, which felt weird at first, but the bigger problem that I can't get used to is every time I'm tapping, I'm blocking the mic there, which disables the ANC or transparency effect for that moment. This takes me out of my immersion or awareness in the case of transparency, and this could be easily solved by putting the sensor anywhere but the mic region. Unfortunately, they've used up all the remaining space here for antenna, which explains why touch sensor is at the top, but I just can't help but feeling most of the design choices here are made only for the sake of looks and specs, not taking user friendliness into account. Anyway, let's talk about transparency mode now, and the first thing I wanted to say is no, they don't relieve as much pressure nor sounding as natural as the One More ComfoBuds Pro. But when you compare it to the Soundpeats T2 here, they are better because you don't hear your own bone conducted sound in your head anymore, which makes it feel more open and natural talking with the earbuds on, so still a step up in that regard. So as you can see here, the FIIL CC Pro has two different transparency modes. First, we have Ki-Found mode, which lets in everything around you without exception, basically your normal transparency mode. Then we have Genting mode, which focuses on human voice and cuts off low hums from a working fridge or AC rumble. And you might not be able to hear any difference in your room, but take it outside and you'll hear the difference right away. Unfortunately, this makes the sound a tiny bit more compressed. So while it helps reducing that stethoscope effect, that sucked in feeling, the sound coming through isn't as full as even the Soundpeats T2 or One More ComfoBuds Pro in that regard. That said, I found it to be very practical in my day-to-day use. I ended up choosing it over the normal transparency mode, and I'd love to see this come to more earbuds actually. Talking about the ANC performance, the CC Pro is playing catch up with the competition here. It's about as good as the Soundpeats T2. So below the One More ComfoBuds Pro here, but still, you could expect low frequency sounds like fan noise to be completely eliminated with some reduction in the mid-range, so things like music playing in a cafe or people talking around you will be reduced slightly, but for the most part, you can still hear it. There's a wind noise reduction mode like what you found on the ComfoBuds Pro here, which blocks about 50% of the normal ANC but is not affected by wind noise at all. Say when you're running, biking, or even if it's slightly windy outside, you'll hear noises like you're blowing into a mic. You know how that sounds. That's where this mode comes in really handy. You still have to activate it by yourself though, because no budget ANC bud so far could do this automatically. But with the ComfoBuds Pro, you'll have to go to the app and select the mode there. Whereas this FIIL CC Pro lets you turn it on with a tap and hold gesture, which makes it infinitely more accessible and thus makes it more useful too. Speaking of which, this is the last bit of controls customization I haven't talked before. You can customize the tap and hold gesture to switch to any ANC modes of your choice. For my example here, I've got the left side set to only ANC on and the right side only to Genting mode, so I could switch between these modes very quickly, but you can also set wind noise reduction as well, or use the full-on transparency mode instead. You have full controls over everything, and that is just really great. So talking more about the goods, any of these modes doesn't change sound quality or add any significant background hiss. And just as expected from FIIL, it remembers your last use setting. So if you use transparency mode, it'll turn on with transparency mode the next time you take it out. Even when you're on a phone call, you can still toggle between ANC or transparency mode. This is something that a lot of earbuds just can't do. But as for the not so good side, I only have one thing here. None of the ANC or transparency mode here works with only one earbud. So let's say you are wearing both and you take one earbud out, the other earbud will just switch off its ANC or transparency mode. But let's think about it. Why did you take the earbud out in the first place? Most likely you want to talk to someone, right? So it would be much better for the other earbud to automatically switch to transparency mode. It just makes sense, but surprisingly not many does this. It's only on the AirPods Pro or the Realme Buds Air 2 so far, but make sure to subscribe so you won't miss the next earbuds that comes with this feature. Talking about battery life real quick, FIIL claims 6.5 hours of playtime without ANC or transparency and 5 5.5 hours with the feature turned on. In my testing, I found it to be just as claimed. You can check the details in my Twitter. And I've tried just using the transparency mode with no music for 1 hour and the battery dropped around 10%. What's also good is the CC Pro reports battery in 1% decrease, which is as detailed as it could get. And it charges fully in about 40 minutes and about an hour with the case. Also, their antenna design has actually paid off here because I've yet to experience any connectivity issues or dropouts. Everything has been very solid. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I needed to say. Finally, it is now time to check out the latency test and the mic test.
As an opener in this review, to be transparent to you, my audience, this device isn't provided by Poco or Shopee Philippines. All of the opinions are mine only, and they have no inputs in this review nor any advanced copies of this video. With that out of the way, let's proceed to our full review. I will take the Poco M3 review very differently as my previous ones, the precise yet compact analysis since the phone has reviews by other creators. We will tackle the 4 M's in my Poco M3's usage that I encountered for almost 3 weeks.
Alright, so welcome to the call test, everyone. Right now you're listening through the FIIL CC Pro. Let's identify the mic that's being used. And right now this is an indoor setting where nothing is going on, so it's a very quiet room and you can see the best case scenario from the FIIL CC Pro. And let's turn on the crowd noise right now and we'll see the noise reduction kicking in if there is any. And this noise is played from my laptop at 100% volume. What do you think of the sound quality? Can you still hear my voice clearly? Okay, so welcome everyone to the call test. It's really good to be back recording outside again, so you have a good, picture of how the mic performs outside. So right now, as you can see in the background, the cars, zooming by, and there's even wind coming in at my face right here. So yeah, this is how the FIIL CC Pro performs. It gets distracted by the noise quite a bit actually when I got to use it more. So yeah, this is the FIIL CC Pro. What do you think of the sound quality? Let me know down in the comments below. All right, so here we are now on the AirPods Pro, and again, just like before, there's really strong wind actually coming at my face, and there's cars zooming by and my background. So what do you think of the sound quality? Actually, you know what? This is a little bit more challenging situation than what the FIIL CC Pro just went through. But yeah, I think you can hear less of the background noise with the AirPods Pro. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the comparison. Let's go back to the review. Alright, in my opinion, the FIIL CC Pro is a great ANC buds worthy of replacing the FIIL T1 Pro in my top 5 ANC recommendation video. It doesn't cost that much more at around 70 to 80 bucks. It's still cheaper than the One More Comfort Buds Pro, and it's got solid features and bassy sound quality that no doubt will satisfy a lot of you out there. So let me know what do you think of this earbud. If you've bought it, did you enjoy it? Or if you're holding out, are you going to buy it now? Let me know down in the comments below. If you have any questions, you can put there as well. And don't forget to use the affiliate links to help me support the channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Kenneth, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.